All right, Clemson Nation. I want to start with a quick update about this channel. I recently just got married and moved to Arizona. So obviously I've not been posting as much simply because I just did not have a lot of time on my hands. I was working 2 jobs back in Columbia to prepare for this move. But my wife and I finally settled down. So hopefully I'll be posting more. I certainly have more time. Hopefully I'll be putting out more content soon. But I really want to move on to the Georgia game. I told all my family and friends, even my new coworkers in Arizona, that Clemson was going to get killed by Georgia. And I told everyone to take Georgia for the spread. I just had no confidence that we could realistically play a competitive 4-quarter game. I had zero confidence that our offense could sustain enough drives. I knew that Georgia had playmakers on offense. Carson Beck's a great quarterback. And I knew they were eventually going to make some plays, hit some plays against our defense. So today, I fully expected to be 0-1. The result of the game didn't even surprise me in the slightest. A blowout like that was something that I fully expected. Georgia is the best football team in the country, and Clemson did go 9-4 last year while bringing in 0 impact players from the portal. It's basically the same roster against the best team in the entire country. Right? That's a recipe for disaster or a recipe for blowout, especially because Georgia's going to be on vengeance this year after being snubbed from the playoffs. So I got exactly what I expected. I want to give my quick thoughts on the game before moving overall to the problem with the program itself. So the first thing, defense played great in the first half. We all saw that. We see the potential for this unit to be absolutely elite this year. I thought Peter Woods did some nice things at defensive end. Maybe not quite as athletic as you would like to be, but I think he's going to hold up this year. I think he can make some plays. Demonte Capehart flashed. He made his presence known in the interior. I was very encouraged by that. I thought R.J. Mickens had a solid game. He was in a lot of pass breakups, good tackling. I thought he did some really nice things. I see the elite potential from Avion Terrell. Even when he did give up plays, he was basically on the wide receiver's hips. Just great throws by Carson Beck, and great players are eventually going to make some plays. Jaden Lucas showed ability. This dude can really tackle for a corner. It's pretty unique the way he hits people. I haven't really seen many corners be able to just really, really hit people like that. Even though Georgia ran up on our defense in the second half, I still saw some really nice things. Moving forward, we're probably going to need more out of TJ Parker. He's pretty much a non-factor this game, going up against a great offensive line. We got to have him do better. We need more pass rush out of him. Peter Woods just isn't going to be that natural speed pass rusher off the edge. We really have to have TJ Parker step up and make plays. Depth along the defensive line is worrisome as a whole. We certainly need Vic Burley and Steph Allen Green to be ready to go. I do like our first 3 defensive tackles. I think Demonte Capehart has insane potential. Peyton Page, NFL guy. Trey Williams, 5th-year senior. Another guy, if he stays healthy, probably has the ability to be on an NFL roster. We really need those 2 young guys, redshirt freshmen, to be ready to go. Huge potential coming out of high school. Hopefully they're going to be ready. Defensive end, we need someone to emerge as a consistent, reliable backup. My hope is being A.J. Hoffler. I think he's got a lot of potential, especially as a pass rusher. Hopefully we see him emerge later on in the season. Offensively, I actually thought our offensive line held up pretty well. I've been seeing a lot of Clemson fans criticize our offensive line. I'm certainly not one of them. I thought the unit has gotten a lot better under Matt Luke. I can see the Matt Luke impact on that unit. I fully expected Georgia to dominate our offensive line like they would have if Thomas Austin was still our head coach. If Thomas Austin was still our offensive line coach. But that didn't happen. I think this unit has certainly improved under Matt Luke. I was very encouraged by that. This is probably the best front 7 they're going to face all year. And the fact that they just didn't get totally dominated, I think is actually encouraging. To me, Phil Maffa's Phil Maffa. He's going to have bigger games against worse teams, obviously. But, I like where he's at. I think he's a nice player. He's a good running back. I think we can rely on him in the season. Again, this is the best defense that we'll face all year. So I'm expecting bigger things out of Maffa in the running game. To me, Cade played fine. I've seen a lot of fans really critical of Cade. I did that first throw, started off really bad. That first throw, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But honestly, he settled in. I thought he played pretty well, especially on his throws, vertical throws, stuff beyond the line of scrimmage, stuff within 5 or 10 yards. When he actually, threw the ball down the field, I thought it was actually pretty accurate. He had that one great throw to Antonio. He had other ones along the way. I mean, he put our receivers in a chance to win 50-50 balls. And the issue, and of course all of us are aware of this, are the wide receivers. And that's where I want to talk about like the problem right now and the future of the program. Number one, to me, Tyler Grisham, he's got to go. I mean, this room has just been atrocious since he took the job. Adam Randall was a 4-star recruit, a high-level guy. He's in year 3. He's fully healthy. And he just looks like a useless player on the field. He can't really create separation. And when Cade gave him that 50-50 ball, he didn't even go attack it. I mean, he's 6'2", 230, but refuses to use his frame. The fact that he let that ball try to come to him is insane. This was a 50-50 ball. You have to use your size and athleticism to go up and get it. Even if he didn't catch it, he almost certainly gets a pass interference call and we get an automatic first down because the DB had his head turned, not facing the ball. So the DB, if Adam Randall hadn't gone up to go get it, would have ran into him, causing a pass interference. The fact that he will not attack the ball in year 3 with that size and frame is incredibly problematic. And I can't understand his refusal to not go get those 50-50 balls. He's been like this his entire career. On top of that, the 2 procedural penalties. Those were just crushing penalties because we almost certainly score at least from one of those drives. We were already in plus territory. We're probably in the red zone if Adam Randall doesn't have one of those procedural penalties. So those are points taken off the board. The first drive, momentum, getting a first down, coming back because of penalties, like that's just crazy to me. I mean, he cost us over 20 yards, probably 2 first downs, potentially scores just off procedure penalties. And on top of that, he just can't get open. Like he can't really create separation. He's not going to attack the 50-50 balls. It's just, I don't understand his point of being on the field when he literally can't do anything for us. And honestly, the same goes for Cole Turner. Dabo preaches that this guy is the fastest player on the team, but it just certainly doesn't look like that on the field. Like he looks like he's just playing very slow. He dropped 2 passes. One of them would have been a first down in the red zone. The one deep shot that Cade threw to him, he gave up on the route. And it was actually pretty good. It was actually a pretty good thrown ball. There was a play to be made there. Like Cole Turner could have caught that. It would have been a huge gain for us. And he just gave up on the route. Not even that he just lost sight of the ball like Antonio Williams did in the end zone. He just flat out gave up. Like, neither of these guys are going to be screen guys that can take it to the house. They're not going to be your underneath threats. They're probably not the best blockers. Why are they playing? If they can't do what we need them to do, win 50-50 balls, use your speed to take the top off of the defense, they're just unplayable in my opinion. I mean, full stop, they're unplayable. And to me, that's just a total reflection of Tyler Grisham. Both these guys in year 3, and they still can't play. Like, that's crazy to me. Antonio Williams obviously is a very good receiver. I saw a lot of good things out of him. I said before the year, if we do have a 1,000-yard receiver this year, it's only going to be him. He's only the guy that can do that. He's clearly going to play at the next level. He's an NFL guy, but he's our underneath guy. He's our screen guy. He's our jet sweep guy. He's the guy we get the ball to out in space. He doesn't have elite size. He doesn't have elite speed. He's never going to be that vertical threat to take the top off a defense. Same goes for Tyler Brown. Tyler Brown's undersized, but he can do things out in space. He has ball skills, but he doesn't have elite speed. So he's not going to be a really 50-50 guy. He's not going to use his speed to take the top off of defense because he just lacks that elite speed. Same thing for Troy Salato. Troy Salato is just entirely underneath guy, slot guy. That's just where he's at. All of them will complement really well if we have actual vertical threat at wide receivers, and we don't have any. That's the issue. We can't stretch the field vertically because of Adam Randall and Cole Turner. They just can't do the job. And it makes 0 sense for them to start any more games moving forward. They are both in year 3. This is who they are. Adam Randall still doesn't have his first career touchdown reception, which is crazy. Cole Turner doesn't play fast enough. He's not a 50-50 guy. Like, we know who they are. They aren't going to get better with more playing time. Obviously, what has to happen is TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco have to start. They are 5-star recruits. They are freshmen. they actually can get better with playing time. And we're going to need them if we still want to win the ACC. Adam Randall, Cole Turner, they've peaked. That's it for them. This is where they are. This is their development. This is where they're at. They're not getting any better. Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore can actually get better. And Clemson still has a chance to win the ACC and make the 12-team playoffs. Those goals are still there, right? We just can't go undefeated. That's the only thing that can't happen. But 12-1 with the 12-team playoff, that's at least attainable. But in order to do that, we need better wide receiver play. Randall and Turner aren't going to get us that. Wesco and Moore might be able to. And once the vertical passing game opens up, I'm telling you, everything else will just get better. All of our underneath receivers, they're going to get more opportunity. They're going to get more space. The running game's going to open up. Cade is going to look significantly better when he can stretch the field to all levels. Just defenses know we can't challenge them vertically, and it just crushes our entire offense. Like when Adam Randall and Cole Turner are on the field, we might as well be playing with 10 guys because they're just useless. I think if we look at the overall situation with the program, I think the biggest issue, people can debate whether it's the transfer portal or not. To me, the biggest issue is Dabo just made really poor hiring decisions in recent years. And he just hired friends and former players that just did not have coaching experience. This is Tyler Grisham's first job. It's obvious why our receivers aren't developing. It's because he doesn't have experience developing wide receivers. Now, Dabo has made corrections over the last 2 years. Right? He fired Brandon Streeter and brought in Garrett Riley, who I think is an upgrade. People are criticizing Garrett Riley. I'm not criticizing him at all. He's got nobody at wide receiver. His quarterback's, just a guy. And that's just what it is. I mean, it's hard to call plays when that's the hand you're dealt. Right? He doesn't have Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson throwing the first-round draft picks. Okay? But I still think Garrett Riley is a step up above Brandon Streeter. Matt Luke, A+ higher, replacing Thomas Austin. Chris Rumpf, to me, A+ higher, replacing Lemansky Hall. But Tyler Grisham has to be next. We have had one of the worst wide receiver groups since he took over for Jeff Scott. What more do you need to see? We were wide receiver elite level wide receivers every year under Jeff Scott, and we have been one of the worst wide receiver groups in the entire ACC since Tyler Grisham has taken the job. That's it. This is his 4th year. This has to be his last year. He cannot continue to be the wide receiver coach. On top of that, Dabo still, I'm going to say it, has to get serious about the portal. And Clemson fans are conflicted about this, and I don't really understand why. We've offered a few offensive linemen. They've committed elsewhere, but we have to start offering more and making a more serious push to sign them. None of us are saying that we should flip the roster like Colorado or like FSU, like signing 15, 20 guys. That's ridiculous. But 2, 3, 4 players in each cycle can make a significant difference. Right? The problem that Dabo's always been having is, the scholarships don't match up. And a lot of the fans, use that as an excuse. Well, we don't have the numbers available. We don't have a lot of guys, transferring out. That's true. But the situation is that Dabo's just mismanaging the roster, right? We have 2 kickers and 2 punters on scholarship. What other major program competing for a national title actually have that? Right? It's always 1 kicker, 1 punter, and probably your long snapper on scholarship. That's 2 spots that could have been available for transfers, but instead we have 2 kickers and 2 punters. Just makes sense. That's a bad decision in my opinion. On top of that, what we have done and what we continue to do is we fill in our recruiting classes late with low-level 3-star recruits. Go back to 2022. This is where it all really happened. So you got Cole Turner, Josh Sapp, Kobe McLeod, Jaheim Lawson, Miles Oliver. All 5 of those guys get signed really late because we missed on a bunch of recruits, and a bunch of guys flipped because we lost some coaches. So we signed 5 guys, all of them low-level 3-star recruits, because we missed on our top guys. They're all in year 3, and none of them are ever going to be truly impactful players for us. Cole Turner made a splash as a freshman against North Carolina, but we know who he is. Josh Sapp is probably always going to be a backup tight end for us. Kobe McLeod going to be a backup linebacker. Gene Lawson backup. Miles Oliver has been hurt the entire time. He's never even played. But he would obviously be a backup behind our corners that we have. It's like we just signed 5 career backups in one recruiting class that are going to be on scholarship for the next 4 or 5 years. Like, that is just poor mismanagement of a roster in this era of college football. 10 years ago, okay, that made sense. But in this era of college football, when people are reloading through the portal, bringing in impact players from the portal, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Georgia brings in guys from the portal, and they're the best team in the country. Like, we have to start being able to do this, or it's just not going to work out for us. And I'm going to end the video on a quote from Dabo. Back in 2015, I saw it on Twitter this morning. I remembered him saying this, but I just never could find it. But in 2015, when Clemson started our run, Dabo said, quote, "In the business world, you look at the old bell curve of a business. You've got the birth, you've got the growth, you've got plateau, you've got decline, and then you've got death. Those great businesses out there, those great programs, they don't plateau. So how do you do that? You have to constantly reinvent, reinvest, reset, learn, grow. You change. You have to do that. You don't just change to change, but you have to always challenge yourself each and every year and make sure, okay, this may be how we've done it, but is it still the right way?" At least ask those type of questions. I think every successful business, every consistent program, that's the mentality. You can't be satisfied, because just as soon as you think you've arrived and you're satisfied, then you plateau, and then the next thing you know, you're on that decline. Now you're not paying attention to the little things. You don't have the sense of urgency because you're fat and happy, and then it's death, the business is closed, or whatever. Well, in my opinion, Dabo became fat and happy. Clemson obviously plateaued, and we're obviously on the decline. So Dabo either has to change, or the death of Clemson's coming. He said it himself. This is what is the reality. This is what happens. Dabo has to change, or the death of the program is coming. As always, go Tigers.